Hey everyone, welcome back to Jay's Down Football Podcast. I'm your host Jaden, and today we're going to be discussing the Atlanta Falcons making some moves on defense, adding in Jeff Okudah, former Detroit Lions cornerback, top draft pick in 2020, and also signing former Steelers and Titans linebacker Bud Dupree, among other things. So we'll start off with that, and also get into Dan Snyder finally selling the Washington Commanders for $6 billion to Josh Harris of the Philadelphia 76ers. So we'll get into all that and more on the podcast. But thank you guys for again tuning in to today's show. And make sure you guys subscribe. Check us out on the socials, IG, Twitter, Jace Without Pod. We're on there, TikTok as well. Blessed to be part of the Out of Pocket Sports brand as well. So make sure you guys check out our content on there. But yeah, let's get started. And make sure you go and purchase a copy of A Good Man in an Evil World, my book. I'm an author now, so that is now my copy of. I have now written the book, so please make sure you check that out. It is available for purchase on Amazon.com. For Kindle ebook or for a paperback version, you can get it on Amazon. So please check that out. But yeah, so let's get started. Jeff Okudah. This is a guy that the Lions were high on out of Ohio State in 2020 and picked him up there. He's guy that I've paid attention to over the last couple of years. Great corner. He's only 24 years old. He's had a lot of injuries in his career so far. He's only played 25 career games. So for the Falcons, this is more of a, high risk, high reward type of signings. It's a risk in the fact that he you don't know how many games you're going to get out of him. He may not play a whole season, but you're hoping at least give me, 12 to 15 games at least. If you can't give me the full 17, I'll take that, because the Falcons secondary was a particular issue for them. It's been the last couple of seasons, since 2017, is the last time where their defense was really competent at any type of level. So now they've been addressing the defense this offseason. First start off with Jesse Bates, getting him, to be the quarterback of that secondary, to be the leader back there. With Jalen Hawkins and Richard Grant, who I expect to be seeing a lot of, nickel packages with them and different things. So I'm interested to see how Ryan Nielsen incorporates those guys in there, along with, picking up Jesse Bates, because he's most destined to start at that free safety spot. So the question is, what do you do with Richard Grant and Jalen Hawkins? So I'm interested to see what they do that there. But, and then you got AJ Terrell. One of the best young corners in the league. He struggled a little bit last year against those bigger receivers, but I expect him to have a bounce back season and continue to just play really well, play good football, like similar to 2021, Pro Bowl level football. That's what I expect to see out of him in 2023. And then, like I say, you go and get Jeff Okudah, a guy, he's played limited snaps, limited games, throughout his career. But when he's on the field, he's very talented. That's why he was picked so high. He's got great length. He's smart corner. He's got a nose for the ball as well. Had a pick six against the Bears last year in the time he played. Well, again, I know it's the Bears, but still, so he can make plays on defense. He can make plays. He can get turnovers, and that's what you need. You got to win the turnover margin in the NFL if you're going to win football games. Especially if you're going to win a Super Bowl, you have to be able to force turnovers, get those turnovers, capitalize off of them, score, play great defense, continue to get more turnovers. Those are some keys to being a successful team in today's NFL. And I really like to pick up for them. As a Falcons fan, but this is my unbiased. This from an analyst's point of view. Again, I think it's a great pickup for Atlanta. They continue to bolster up that defense, which was again a really dire need for them. And they had the money to do it. So instead of them throwing it all at Lamar Jackson, I'm glad that they're actually addressing an area of need and not just throwing all their money at a quarterback. Hint, hint. But this. This is good. They made good moves. I like what they're doing. Hopefully it all comes to fruition. Hopefully everybody stays healthy. And, and they also, like I said, they picked up Bud Dupree today, the former Steelers and Titans outside linebacker. He fits this defensive scheme. Bud had a solid season last year in Tennessee. I didn't know exactly how many games he played, but he didn't play the whole season. But in the time he played, he had about 7 sacks and good number of tackles. So he's just a veteran pickup, for a room that's young. A position room that's pretty young in Atlanta. Arnold Ebiketie, Lorenzo Carter, younger guys, on that defense on the outside linebacker edge position. So getting a guy like Bud Dupree was huge for them. He's got to bring experience. He's played in the NFL before for a couple of different defenses, played under Mike Tomlin, Mike Vrabel in Tennessee as well. So I really thought it was a good move for Atlanta to go get him. And like they still have money to spend. So this is interesting. Now it's just my focus of what they're going to do in the draft because again, you address the cornerback spot with Jeff Okuda. You got really 3, 4 guys. Like because they picked up Mike Hughes in free agency as well. So you got Mike Hughes, AJ Terrell, Casey Hayward still on the team. So I imagine him and Okuda will be competing for that number 2 spot. And so yeah, it's the secondary is really good. I like what they're doing. Hopefully, again, everybody stays healthy. And this could be a really good defense. Like people are sleeping on Atlanta. I mean, they've added to that defensive team. Offensively, again, getting Matt Collins, a captain, a guy who's been in this league before, played, won a Super Bowl with Philadelphia some years back. He's been in different locker rooms, been with the Las Vegas Raiders. He comes over here. Scotty Miller, and again, another Super Bowl champion, coming from down, south from Tampa Bay, so I really like what Atlanta's doing. I like what Terry Fontenot is doing. I think he's done an amazing job since he's taken over at the GM position for Thomas Dimitroff, and really glad that he came to Atlanta. I like what he's doing here, him, Brad Holmes, like in Detroit, they're doing a great job. Just continue to just build their franchises up, getting the right people in the building, the right players in the building, just trying to instill the right mindset. And these are key things if you want to have a winning team in the NFL at this level. So you just got to start from, top down, and once that tone is set, then everybody else is going to follow, so I really like what they're doing there. But that, as far as the Falcons, that wraps up their segment today. Just want to address that. So they traded a 5th-round pick for Jeff Okuda. Hey, I'm taking that. The Lions, why they did that, I'm not so sure. A lot of people were saying that's a highway robbery trade. Shout out to Riley from the Riled Up podcast, part of the Out of Pocket Sports Group. My boy Riley there. He said it was highway robbery. Yeah, it is for us. But hey, I'm gonna take it. So he's 24 years old. This is his contract year. So if hopefully he'll for his sake he'll stay healthy, he'll ball out, and we don't know what's gonna happen, but we'll see what happens later down the line. In other news, Dan Snyder, former owner of the Washington Commanders, sold the franchise finally for $6 billion to Josh Harris, who is the owner of the Philadelphia 76ers. Him and his group purchased purchased the team along with Magic Johnson, who was in that little group as well, part of that group there. So they have purchased the Washington Commanders away from Dan Snyder. This has been a long time coming. Finally the DC area can rejoice. The NFL can rejoice in the fact that Dan Snyder is no longer having his prints in the league. This is a guy that he's done a lot of things, and he his what he's done has affected the whole franchise, the whole building as a whole there, even the city, even the area of the DC area, in the Maryland area. And it's finally good to have that out of there. I feel like it's going to be a fresh start for Washington. Now you have somebody in there that's new, that's going to set the tone from the top down, and get set a new culture there with the team. They hired Eric Bieniemy, the new offensive coordinator. They're trying to revamp that and bring that franchise back to winning ways. And I like, and it starts with again Dan Snyder selling the team. I think that was the greatest move ever for Washington. It's been a long time coming because they've needed to have been selling that team. And it's a great move, so I like it. Honestly, Washington, I mean, you got Sam Howell, you got, Jahan Dotson, Terry McLaurin, Brian Robinson Jr. out in the backfield. The Commanders have solid players. They got a solid team. The only issue for them is they just need everything to gel together. They have all the pieces. They just need everything to completely gel together. And you really hope that Sam Howell is that quarterback, because it seems like they're really confident in him, and they want him to be the starter come week 1 in 2023. So that seems like what their goal is. Now they brought in Dwayne Haskins. He gets to be a backup, a spot starter if needed, because he's shown that he can do that over his time in Indianapolis and New England, in Cleveland most recently, in Miami. So this is a guy that can start football games for you if you need him to. But no, you want your guy for the future, your guy that's going to be with your team the next 10, 15 years. Is Sam Howell that guy? I don't know. I haven't really seen any real game action for him other than that game against the Cowboys. But I want to see more. I want more of a sample size. Um, for him, and who knows? They might go after Anthony Richardson in a draft, But then again, the way things have been rumbling around the league, I don't know if he's going to drop that far down. I don't know. I mean, my guess is that I can see him going to the Colts. I could definitely see him going to the Colts. That is a possibility. As far as anybody else trading up for him, I mean, the Vegas Raiders could go and trade for him. They could trade up, but I'm not really sure about that, But I mean, getting back to Anthony in a minute, but right now, like I said, this is a great move by Washington. You finally get rid of Dan Snyder. Dan Snyder no longer has his paws on everything, so now the franchise is free of that. So now they're able to, because to bring in the people they need to bring in that they want to bring in to just set the new culture and new identity for that team, that franchise, that building, those people in there. Everybody from the owners down to the players, the coaches, the assistants, the video coordinators, the janitors, even. Just it's different in a business. When you have someone that sets a tone and a standard for the team. And they, and it's a good standard, and they build a great culture, and it's going to help. It trickles down throughout from the employees, all the way to the customers, just the members, whoever it might be. That's and it's a good thing when you have somebody at the top that's incorporating a solid culture into the building. And so that's I feel like the Commanders are trying to do now, and we'll see how that goes for them. But hopefully it goes good for their sake. But back to Anthony Richardson, a lot of talk's been going around lately that he might go earlier than expected. Like you know, my thing is this: it's like okay, I mean, even if he does go earlier than expected, again, the only team I can see is the Colts. I mean, that's the only possibility I can see. Um, unless I mean, now could the Panthers or somebody take them? Possibly, but no, it seems like they're all going in for C.J. Stroud. I think they're all in for C.J. Stroud. I think the Texans are all in for Bryce Young. I think those two are going to be the first two players taken off the board. Like that's no question about it. Maybe Will Anderson goes to the Cardinals, number 3, if nobody trades up for that pick. But I like Anthony Richardson. He's raw. Obviously, we all know that he's a freak athletically. He could he just is a freak of nature. Got an arm. It's just a mechanical thing. So I think can be worked on if he goes to the right team. So that's going to be interesting to see how that works for him. I want him to work out on the team. But I don't think he's a guy that you just plug in day one is going to start. Unless you have no type of aspirations of reaching a Super Bowl or winning games. But most every team does, even if they know they can't do it. But that's their goal once the off season begins and for they're getting ready for new league year. Like their goal is to go win a Super Bowl. The goal is to go be in the playoffs, be in contention, and go win football games. That's how you make your money. So that is the key for me. Is it going to happen? I mean, I don't know. I mean, we'll see how he works out in the league. I mean, again, I don't think he's a day one starter. I really don't. Unless it's a team like maybe the Commanders or could the Vikings go grab him and have him sit behind Kirk Cousins for a year and mature him? Even the Seahawks, that's another team that's I've been hearing about lately. Could they go and trade up for him? I've even heard the Patriots. I doubt that. It seems like Mac Jones is the guy, but we don't. Again, it's the NFL. We don't know. All this stuff, crazy stuff happens. So we'll see how that plays out here over the next couple of weeks. I mean, in the draft, it is the 27th of April on ESPN, NFL Network, ABC. Make sure you guys catch that live from Kansas City. So we'll see how that happens. I'm excited for it. Again, it's gonna be this. This is one of the most talented classes I think we've had in a long time. As far as across the board, I mean, from the wide receivers, especially wide receivers, it's a deep wide receiver class to the cornerbacks. Uh, you know, defensively, you got some gems I think are going to go in the third, fourth rounds, maybe 6 rounds. That can be some good starters on some teams. So we'll see how that goes. But Just really want to touch on that today, guys. On the show, Falcons continue to make moves, add to that defense, and the Commanders being sold to Josh Harris from Dan Snyder for $6 billion. That's a lot of money, and so that's really about it. I mean, as we continue to traverse here throughout the off season, more news, everything. We'll keep you guys updated on everything. But thank you guys for tuning in to the show. It's been your host, Jaden of Jay's Fifth Down. Again, make sure you guys check us out on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Also, make sure to get yourself a copy of The Good Man in an Evil World, written by yours truly. Available for purchase on Amazon. Thank you guys. Have a great weekend.